Number 10. Unpopular. Now that Charles is king, his new role is going to be daunting, and he has a real uphill battle to restore his tarnished reputation. Queen Elizabeth was overwhelmingly popular and well respected, but her son, on the other hand, has a major image problem: strained family relationships, endless scandals, and lingering allegations of racism against him. Charles confronts those challenges at the age of 73, the oldest monarch ever to take the throne in a lineage that dates back 1,000 years, alongside his wife Camilla, who was equally controversial and universally disliked. In short, the British public sees the new king as weak, vain, and ill-equipped for the role of sovereign. Although Charles has taken a stand on important environmental issues such as sustainability and climate change, he has fallen pitifully short on animal welfare issues. He has also been ridiculed for admitting that he talks to plants and obsesses over hating modern architecture. But more than anything, he got a whole lot of backlash for speculating about the complexion of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's future children. He allegedly asked Camilla, "I wonder what the children would look like," and lowering his voice, asking, "I mean, what do you suppose the children's complexions might be?" So the allegations of racism were pretty hard to ignore. Number 9. Short reign. With Queen Elizabeth II's death on Thursday, King Charles III has now become the oldest person in British history to be king at age 73. But the fact is that Charles's reign is inevitably going to be far shorter than Queen Elizabeth's, so the fact that King Charles will have a much shorter reign concerns some people. Why? Change on a grand scale can be scary, and people inherently don't like the idea of instability, which is something that they never had to worry about with Queen Elizabeth. Throughout the nation, she was a symbol of stability and order, even managing to outlast 12 US presidents. So after all, at Charles's age, some might question that he will be unable to tackle royal tours with the same vigor as his mother, and with the 1937 Regency Act, there are only 4 family members that can act on the king's behalf when he is sick, incapacitated, or out of the country. But that's a major problem because currently 2 of those 4 people are out of action. Prince Andrew is now disgraced from his scandal surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, and Prince Harry is ineligible because he lives abroad. So it's a bit of a messy situation. Number 8. They hate Camilla. A survey from BGM Research revealed that only 20% of people think Camilla should take the title of queen. Given that Prince Charles is now married to the other woman, that may also make people feel less inclined to get behind him as the reigning monarch. Back in the 90s, one of the biggest scandals to rock the British royal family was when Charles was caught having an affair with Camilla. The transcript of their phone sex was published on the front pages for days, and was so controversial at the time because he was still married to Princess Diana and she was married to Andrew Parker Bowles. The transcript reads like something out of a used bookstore romance novel. The incident ultimately broke Camilla's 20-year marriage and publicly humiliated her husband and children, and played a major role in Charles and Diana's divorce, which would come only a few years later and was requested by the Queen herself. So it's likely that the new king will never be able to fully live down the scandal. Number 7. Questionable parenting. Charles has always had a bit of a rocky relationship when it comes to being a father to his 2 sons William and Harry. In fact, after an heir to the throne had been secured, Diana said that Charles had been hoping their second child would be a girl, and obviously it wasn't. In her biography, Diana said she knew Harry was a boy, but kept it a secret until after he was born, as Charles actually had a negative reaction, saying, "Oh god, it's a boy," and commented on his red hair. But this is nothing compared to the hospital incident. In 1991, 8-year-old Prince William underwent emergency surgery for a skull fracture after being hit by a golf club to the head while playing with schoolmates. The young prince was kept overnight at London's Great Ormond Street Hospital following an hour-long operation. Diana spent the night sleeping in a bed set up near William's room so she could look after her son, whereas Charles took a much different approach. Rather than stay and comfort his wife and injured son after a 15-minute visit, the prince left the hospital to go to the opera. It's no surprise that when Buckingham Palace informed the press of the prince's decision to keep his previous plans but keep in touch with doctors, he was completely bashed by the tabloids. Number 6. Bad attitude. Many Brits think that Charles won't be a good king and fear that he just doesn't have what it takes to rise to the occasion. Whether it's because of his personality traits or capabilities or something else entirely, if people don't have confidence that he will do a good job, it will be hard for them to get behind him. In fact, when it comes to best-selling books about the real life of the royals, you'll see that Charles isn't exactly praised by biographers. In fact, some of his private rants and tantrums have been made public, further damaging his reputation. It was 2005 during a holiday in the Swiss Alps, just a few days before his wedding to Camilla, and the new king's general frustration boiled over and he made a rather awkward comment to Harry and William because he didn't seem to realize that there was a microphone nearby. He answered the reporter's question politely and then through gritted teeth muttered under his breath, "Bloody people, I can't bear that man. He's so awful, he really is." And yes, the microphones picked up every word. It was just plain awkward, but it goes to show you just how much Charles loves to complain. Number 5. Marriage to Diana. Charles's marriage to Diana didn't exactly get off to the best start, especially when we think back to their 1981 engagement interview. When he was asked if he loved Diana, he looked very nonchalant and just said, "Whatever love means," which caused a lot of people to scratch their heads. And years later, Diana actually admitted that the moment had traumatized her. When the couple wed in 1981 in front of a global television audience of more than 750 million people, they seemed to be perfect for each other. But behind the scenes, the marriage had extreme problems, and it became apparent that Charles was having an affair with Camilla. A heartbroken Diana exposed the affair in an infamous 1992 interview, saying, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." Charles publicly admitted to being unfaithful in his own interview, and the couple divorced in 1996. There was already public outrage growing against him, but it all came to a head when the princess was killed in a Paris car crash in 1997. From that point on, there were vitriolic outpourings in the press against both him and Camilla, and his popularity sank to an all-time low. So the British public, who is still very protective of Diana, still haven't been able to forgive Charles for how he treated her during their ill-fated marriage. Number 4. Too political. Blame the British press or Charles's self-created scandals over the years, but the more salacious or negative details of his life always seem to make the headlines. In 2015, the Black Spider memos caused quite a stir for him. The collection consisted of 27 memos that he sent in 2004 and 2005, lobbying British Prime Minister Tony Blair for the policy changes that he'd hoped for, including promoting alternative medicine and even asking to replace military helicopters. This was a pretty serious scandal because members of the royal family are supposed to stay out of politics and remain neutral, especially the ones who were always destined to be king. But Charles is often not shy about sharing his opinions on political matters, and this has led to him being criticized for it, possibly to the detriment of his future reign. And then in September of 2021, Charles had a brand new scandal to contend with. The chairman of the Prince Foundation, Michael Fawcett, was accused of bribing a Saudi billionaire with knighthood and UK citizenship if he was willing to donate to the foundation. So far, the investigation is still ongoing. Number 3. They prefer William. William, Kate, and their 3 children are adored all throughout England. In fact, a survey by BGM Research reveals that nearly half of the British public wants Prince Charles to step aside and give the throne to his oldest son. The couple have now been married for nearly a decade, and The Atlantic called their relationship a fairy tale, with their picture-perfect family and their lack of scandals. Plus, Prince William and Prince Harry are the most liked royals since records began, so it makes sense that people want to see them on the throne. But experts believe this would be nearly impossible. The bigger question now is how long King Charles will decide to reign now that he has taken the throne. Will he do the job for a couple of years before abdicating and handing the crown to his eldest son? Throughout their lives, the younger generation of the royal family has tried to find a balance between the fast-changing society that they have now and the rigid institution that is the monarchy. This tension has practically torn the brothers apart. While William leads a life of traditional duty, charity work, and military pageantry, Harry resides outside LA with his American ex-actress wife Meghan, who seems to be more interested in Hollywood than Buckingham Palace. The brothers, who were once very close, are now barely on speaking terms. Number 2. Taj Mahal photo. One of the most iconic photos ever taken of Diana was shot during a visit to India, with Charles Charles in February of 1992. The couple were expected to visit the Taj Mahal together, but Diana went on her own, which led to the headline-making photo that was a nail in the coffin for the new king's public image. It became the defining and memorable image of the tour. But why? Well, Charles practically abandoned his wife to visit some random architecture school, while Diana sat alone on a bench in front of the most famous monument of love. At the time, she told reporters her visit there was a very healing experience, but she did say it would have been better if both of us had been here, but my husband has to be in Delhi. The image was so powerful because it became the embodiment of Diana's loneliness and isolation, and really solidified Charles's image as a villain, opening him up to harsh criticism for not accompanying her. Years later, in 2016, William and Kate visited the exact same place and recreated the photos sitting side by side. In fact, the memory of his mother must have been very overwhelming there, because William actually started crying and was clearly overcome with the emotion of her memory. And coming in at number 1, too outspoken. Charles has been outspoken on a whole range of sensitive issues, from genetically modified crops to homeopathic medicines and architecture. Interestingly enough, he has always been a strong climate change activist and has been speaking out about it since 1968. Charles was a prominent backer of the 2015 Paris Climate Accord and discussed the subject with Donald Trump over tea in December of 2019. This has made him a lot more of a divisive figure than his mother, who barely cracked an expression during her 70-year reign, let alone expressed a single opinion. But Elizabeth's legendary ability not to offend was more strategic than many people realize. Charles has also said some outrageous things throughout his lifetime, like, "I'm not really good at being a performing monkey. I'm not prepared to just perform whenever they want me to perform on that sort of score." And "That's called a microphone. It's a big sausage that picks up every time you say." But he also angered quite a few people when he infamously said, "Do you seriously expect me to be the first Prince of Wales in history not to have a mistress?" And let's not forget that notorious interview where he insisted that he was faithful to Princess Diana up until he felt the marriage was broken.
Coming at number 10, we have William attacks Harry. Prince Harry has said that he saw red mist in his brother Prince William's eyes when his older sibling allegedly attacked him during a confrontation over the younger Duke's relationship with Meghan Markle, with this being one of several revelations the Duke has made in his new book Spare. Harry would allege that the Prince of Wales grabbed him by his collar before ripping his necklace and knocking him to the ground. This would happen after William had called the American actress difficult, rude, and abrasive. While Harry has explained that the incident happened all so fast, the incident would cause Harry to land on a dog bowl that would crack under his back, and pieces of the bowl would then cut into Harry in the process. With Harry lying on the floor for a moment, feeling dazed, he then got up onto his feet and told his brother to get out. The incident is said to have taken place at Nottingham Cottage back in 2019 when Harry was living there, and it started when William arrived to complain about Meghan. And now it's starting to make a whole lot of sense on why Meghan and Harry skipped out on spending Christmas with the royal family that year. Coming at number 9, we have Diana hid for years. We were all shocked when we learned that Harry would be discussing some never-before secrets surrounding his mother's passing in his new book, and let me tell you, Charles definitely has his hands full with this. In Harry's forthcoming memoir, Spare, Harry would state that for years he thought his mother went into hiding after the world came to learn about her passing. Harry would also say he admitted this thought to his brother Prince William after his brother missed a yearly ski trip to Colchester because he hated posing for photographs. Harry would then note that William even admitted that he used to believe the same thing. Now, the world would come to learn of Princess Diana's passing in August of 1997 after she passed away due to injuries she obtained in a car crash while she was in Paris. Harry would then claim that he even believed that Princess Diana had faked her passing to escape the scrutiny, as he recalled that her life had been miserable as she was constantly being hounded, harassed, lied about, and even lied to. So he thought she staged the accident so she could create a diversion and run away. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming at number 8, we have Diana's passing. So after Diana passed away in a tragic car accident in Paris, Harry would open up about how he learned about her passing. Writing about his mother's passing, Harry would state that he was only 12 years old when he would be woken up by his father after he came into his room and sat on Harry's bed while putting a hand on his knee. According to the Duke, Charles then said, "My dear son, Mom has been in a car accident. There have been complications. Mom has been seriously injured and has been taken to hospital. My dear son. Harry would go on to imply that Charles kept calling him his dear son, and when he was speaking really quietly, it would give him the impression that Charles was in shock. However, the whole thing just seems pretty sad because Harry said he didn't even cry and his father didn't even hug him during the conversation. He just placed his hand on his knee and told him it would all be okay. This is when also Harry would notice that Charles had already broken the news to his older brother William. It just seems a little strange the way Charles went into his room to break the news, and it makes you question if there was anything really fishy that went on with the passing of Princess Diana. Number 7. Prince Philip's passing. The start of Harry's memoir, Spare, would begin with him detailing the sad moment his grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, told him that his grandfather, Prince Philip, had passed away. Just days before Philip's funeral, Harry added that he woke up to 32 missed calls before having a brief conversation with the Queen, in which she informed him of Philip's passing. Harry has also recalled the harrowing conversation in which the late monarch said, "Harry, grandfather has passed away." Prince Harry has also described the moment he was told of Prince Philip's passing and how he turned up to Fogmore Gardens in Windsor after Prince Philip's funeral. He would also state it was at this moment alone he would reflect on how sad it was. Fogmore Cottage was to be his and Meghan's home for life before they left royal duties behind. Harry was among 30 attendees at Prince Philip's funeral service in Windsor in April of 2021, as the lockdown restrictions at the time meant a strict limit on the number of people that were allowed to attend. Number 6. William and Kate approved the Halloween costume. Another royal bombshell moment Harry exposed in his memoir is that Prince William and Princess Kate were actually the ones who encouraged him to wear the infamous German uniform he donned at a 2005 costume party for Halloween. Harry recalled the decision to wear the uniform was the biggest mistake of his life in his 2022 Netflix docuseries, Harry and Meghan. When Harry recalled picking up the offensive grab in his upcoming memoir, Spare, he would say, "I went up and down rows, sifting through racks, seeing nothing I liked. With time running out, I narrowed my options to tow a British pilot's uniform and a sand-colored German uniform with an armband and a flat cap." Harry then recalls that he called Kate and William to ask what they thought, and they picked out the offensive German uniform. So Harry rented it plus a silly mustache, and after getting the costume, he went back to their house and tried it all on. He then noted that both Prince William and Kate howled in laughter as they pointed fingers at him, rolling on the floor in laughter. Harry would then apologize again for his poor choice of costume, and he went on to say he was really sorry if he caused any offense or embarrassment to anyone. Number 5. Brothers asked Charles not to marry Camilla. As more details of Prince Harry's hotly anticipated memoir, Spare, is revealed, there have been a number of moments from the royal past that are coming up into the spotlight. Among these reports, Harry would claim that he and his brother had asked their father not to marry Camilla. Back in 1996, Charles would famously divorce Princess Diana following several years of formal separation and a messy, public scandal surrounding Charles's extramarital affairs with Camilla. After the divorce, Charles would go on a date with Camilla, but their relationship would remain highly controversial. When the question came, Harry and William proposed to the king that they would welcome Camilla into the family, and the only thing they asked in return was that he never married her. Harry would say that the brother said, "You don't need to get married again." Harry would also share his first impressions of his stepmother, the Duke, and he described her as being calm or bored, and he even expressed his concerns that she would be an evil stepmother, but then he concluded that she wasn't. For years there has been speculations as to how William and Harry may have felt about their stepmother. Now we're finally starting to hear the details, and I wonder how Charles now feels that Camilla knows that his kids told him not to marry her. Number 4. Substance abuse. In one candid moment in Harry's memoir, he would claim that he took some substances and that a journalist even threatened to publish a photo of him using the substance. Being 17 at the time, the prince would recall that he was offered the substance during a hunting weekend, but after taking it, he didn't really find it much fun. Harry would say, "It wasn't much fun, and it didn't make me feel particularly happy the way the others seemed to. But it did make me feel different, and that was my main goal, to feel to be different. Harry admitted when he was 17 he was pretty much willing to try anything that would upset the established order. However, the prince would then describe the incident as being one of the biggest mistakes of his life, and he also felt so ashamed after doing the substance that all he wanted to do afterwards was make things right. Later in the memoir, Harry would even detail how a journalist would threaten to expose him using the substance and that they would publish a photograph of the Duke using it. For the journalist eventually admitted that the photo didn't even exist. Number 3. Camilla leaks stories. Prince Harry has accused Queen Consort Camilla of engaging in a campaign to get closer to the crown by marrying Prince Charles. Alongside this, Harry has also accused her of leaking stories to the press about Harry and their first meeting. Harry has also alleged that Camilla sacrificed him to improve her own public image. In his book, Harry would claim that Camilla campaigned for her marriage to Charles in 2005 so that she could potentially become queen. And while Harry and William wanted to promise their father they would welcome her into the family, Charles would not respond to their request that he would never marry her. In one of the most explosive extracts of the book, Harry would go on to accuse his stepmother and Angela Kelly of leaking stories to the press that included details of the hunting trip he went on in Germany, where he got exposed to those substances. Harry also revealed that it was only when he got the backing from William is when his father took things seriously and finally confronted her on it. But to sell stories to the press about your own stepson in order to save your own reputation is kinda just sad and petty, and it makes you just shake your head knowing that Charles would even want to marry a woman like that. And he should have never left Diana. That was his biggest mistake. Number 2, the last conversation with the Queen. One of the most heartbreaking stories in Harry's memoir is when he revealed his emotional final words to his beloved grandmother, the Queen, at Balmoral, just hours before she passed away. In his autobiography, Harry would describe that he whispered into her ear and told her that he hoped she was happy and that she would finally be able to reunite with Prince Philip, who passed away a year earlier. Harry would also go on to tell his grandmother that he admired her for having carried out her duties until the end. Harry would then say he scrambled to Scotland to see his grandmother on September 8th last year after Buckingham Palace had announced that she was gravely ill. However, he failed to reach the estate before she passed away at the age of 96. In a moving passage, the Duke would describe that he learned of the Queen's passing after he checked the BBC News website. Upon arriving at Balmoral, he was greeted by Anne, the Princess Royal, who took him upstairs to the room where his grandmother was still lying. Harry would then say, "I advanced with uncertainty, and I saw her. I stayed still watching her carefully for a good while." And that's when he whispered in her ear. And while Harry's last words to the Queen definitely made majority of us cry, it proves that even after everything, his heart remained pure, and he would always serve even if he wasn't a part of the royal family any longer. Coming at number 1 today, we have Prince William, the arch nemesis. Now, we all knew the rift between Harry and William was pretty bad, and I don't think any of us really realized how bad the rift between the two brothers really was. As siblings fight, that's natural. But to claim your sibling as your enemy is something you only really see in Disney movies. In Harry's memoir, Harry would refer to Prince William as his beloved brother and arch nemesis. When questioned about the quote in a clip from an interview with Good Morning America with anchor Michael Strahan, Harry would hold nothing back. In the interview, when the quote came up, Harry would explain that there was always going to be competition between the two brothers. Harry would then go on to explain the strong words he had by saying, "I think it really plays into or was played by heir." He went on to refer to Prince William's role as future king while he moved down the line of succession as Prince William and Kate had children. While Harry never wanted things to get to where they are today, all he wants at the end of the day is a family and not an institution.
At number 10, we have Beyonce. If you take Cheat Sheet's word for it, Beyonce obtains a massive chip on her shoulder in regards to how her fame lines up with that of the powerful English monarchy. Her once humble upbringing seemed to shatter when she was invited to meet the royals and showed up late with Jay-Z. According to the news source, the pair arrived following the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, which is considered rude among other things. In short, the royal family's time was disrespected, and in turn, they were reportedly upstaged by Queen Bee's own swarm of media attention. And this wouldn't even be the first time Beyonce has been caught up in an uptight diva royal-esque behavior either. December. Apparently, the Houston native's reported on-shoot demands were once exposed by an apparent close source, and let me tell you, it wasn't looking too good for Bey back then. Things like her supposedly requesting that her dressing room transition into a fully baby-proof space and that it be furnished all white, and her demands of a large additional room with a massive vanity and stage lights so her appearance team could work under the best circumstances to ensure she looked her greatest. Beyonce also allegedly asked that all her food be served on a crisp white tablecloth and that the temperature needed to remain at 72 degrees Fahrenheit to keep warm. Alongside this, Bey also supposedly specified Jo Malone candles or comparable grapefruit candles to be on hand and 2 bars of Irish Spring soap. I mean, if any of this is true, Beyonce low-key makes the royal family's demands seem like light work. What is one thing you like and dislike about the royal family? And if you haven't already, tap the notification bell for more, it really helps our channel grow. At number 9 we have Kim Kardashian. One thing that many noted during Kim's time being married to rapper Kanye West is that she became a lot more refined, making strides of improvement in how she communicated at that point. Rather than throw direct shade at the royals to end up having to deal with immediate backlash, the reality star took a different approach on how she thought that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were not being perfect. However, she quickly rained in praises for them in multiple ways afterwards. Her underhanded comments were sugar-coated by the nice things she had to say following. Still, Kim has a history of backhanded compliments, which has been proven many times through her media presence, and things she says in passing that she believes means no harm. Like when she spoke about one-time feuding partner Taylor Swift's music in an interview. She began with, "They're all super cute and catchy," only to later retract that by admitting that she had to, quote, "look in my phone to get a name." Seems like they're not that catchy then, Kimmy. At number 8 we have Katy Perry. Now, Katy has been known to have some questionable fashion looks in her days, and she has seen her fair share of media slamming due to the publicly declared poor styling choices she's made for her own attires. However, she refused to hold back when she criticized Meghan's Givenchy wedding gown, which was designed by Claire Keller and featured a simplistic cut with 3/4 length sleeves and an off-the-shoulder neckline. The silk number, of course, is drastically different from Kate Middleton's lace dress from 2011, which had the internet in shambles. Some agreed Meghan's dress was too basic and didn't do the Duchess justice, while others believed it perfectly suited Meghan's classic style. But Katy, she was on the end of the hate train that was not in favor of the gown. Katy was asked about her opinion on the dress during the first night of the American Idol finals, admitting, "I would have done one more fitting. I'm never not going to tell the truth. One more fitting, but I love you." Katy also didn't forget to add that she thought Kate won over Meghan's look with her modern Alexander McQueen number. And despite her super shady negativity, Katy proceeded to positively support Meghan afterwards because of her womanhood strength and humanitarian work. At number 7 we have Wendy Williams. Now, Wendy is surely not impressed by anything that Meghan has achieved in her days as Duchess, nor how Wendy believes Meghan has benefited from marrying a member of the royal family. Wendy has expressed, without directly saying it, that she is not a fan of Meghan and had taken to bashing Meghan on her former show ever since it was announced that Meghan and Harry were seeing one another. Wendy has made previous comments about how she does not believe the marriage between the pair would last, since Meghan seems to constantly be surrounded by, quote, way too much drama. According to Wendy, back in 2017, when she boldly spoke of the Duchess, she said that the royal bound marriage was a random princess who is just looking for a game to play, as she seems to be a bit of a wild card. Yikes. Even the massive security of the Grand Castle couldn't protect Meghan from Wendy's harsh words, it seems. At number 6 we have Piers Morgan. Now, according to Piers, he was ghosted by Meghan and took immense pride in letting the world know what the most recent addition to the royal family had rumoredly done to him. Apparently, while they shared a set together, the Duchess issued a tweet to him stating that she was a big fan and couldn't contain her excitement about getting to work with Piers. Their relationship seemed to be on the up and ups for a good friendship at that point, as they continued to text and email and even met at a local pub. However, after this, apparently Piers reported that Meghan straight up ghosted him, and ever since then, Piers has made it his mission to shade her. As early as September of this year, Piers has once again lashed out at the married royals in his latest news column following the death of Queen Elizabeth II. The TV presenter has never been shy to bash them before, Meghan specifically, and even walked off Good Morning Britain after the dust of Meghan's 2021 Oprah interview settled. His article for the New York Post came with the winning title, "Harry, if you really want to honor your dad, nix your salacious, tell-all, and rein in your royals trashing wife." In the write-up, Piers stated that Harry had spent the past consecutive years, quote, dishonoring his father, as well as that someone who was quite close with Charles informed Piers that the new King of England was deeply hurt and utterly bemused by the actions of his son, supposedly. Piers added, if Harry goes ahead with his horribly ill-advised book, he will betray his pledge to his grandmother and show that his commitment to honor his father is just more hot air from someone who, like his wife, loves to preach one thing but practice another. At number 5 we have Amy Schumer. Actress and comedian Amy Schumer dished her own plate of steaming hot shade when she slyly spoke on a radio show about her disdain for Meghan. Apparently, while making an appearance on Sydney Fitzy's and Wippa's radio show, they spoke about the wedding, where Amy made it clear how she felt Meghan's wedding dress didn't actually belong to her, and made jokes about how she had to greet foreign delegates on her big day, which were supposedly people she had neither seen nor met before then. Amy also curated a few underhand compliments about how bad of an experience it must have been for Meghan. However, regardless of the now lack of shock for her invite, I'm sure Amy would have positively shown up had she been on the invitee list to attend the then highly anticipated royal affair. At number 4 we have Simon Cowell. Simon Cowell was seemingly blindsided about not making the guest list for Prince Harry's wedding, and in return, the British star decided to cast some very public and not so subtle shade about the royals in return. Obviously, Simon felt as if he was owed an invitation, especially because Kate Middleton's trusty mailman had made the guest list, and he later used his public forum to reveal that his invite was potentially lost in the mail. Yet, according to Simon, it was also his own fault why he was snubbed from the royal wedding in the first place, and he blames his snarky comments as the reason why. It seems he rattled the royals with his insults about the late Queen Elizabeth that may have landed him in hot water at the time. He once told Jay Leno, "No, I haven't been invited to the royal wedding. I may have said something to the Queen about her hat when I met her. I guess karma is a you-know-what." At number 3 we have Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry's comedic method of expressing his thoughts about literally anything is quite a skill. Still, his reference to a circus act for Meghan and Harry's wedding had the public unsure of how to react. At the time, Jerry spoke with E! News about the occasion, and alongside his jabs, he also sneakily commented on William and Kate Middleton at the time. This was during promotions for his England stand-up concert in June, where he was featured on Daybreak for the country's ITV station. While the interviewer, Adrian, mentioned the then upcoming nuptials of William and Kate, Jerry shocked possibly the entirety of America by saying, "Well, it's a circus act, it's an absurd act. You know, it's a classic English thing of let's play dress up, let's pretend these are special people. We'll all pretend. That's what theater is." He also dished out some backhandedly sweet words about British theater before commenting more on the royals with, "And that's what the royal family is. It's a huge game of pretend. These aren't special people, it's fake outfits, phony hats, and gowns." And I mean, it's safe to assume Jerry didn't make the invite list for either weddings, nor any preceding royal events in his current time for that matter. At number 2 we have Lily Allen. Don't be fooled by Lily's sweet voice, because sometimes, like in this instance, she says some less than sugary stuff. When she discussed the most recent royal wedding in her highlighted E! News segment, Lily ranted about how she failed to secure a spot in the invitee list while Joss Stone received an invitation. She later attempted to cover up her bitterness by pretending that she was not affected, making sure to vocalize that she was far too busy to attend regardless. Still, it's clear by her bringing it up that she was a little bit touchy about the topic, and didn't hesitate with her shade for the royals when she finished with, "Well, you can quote me as outraged. Why does Joss Stone get an invite and not moi?" At number 1 we have Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy was the former leader of the Labour Party as one of their left-wing politicians. In his time on top, Jeremy directly challenged loads of people in power and individuals with authority throughout the time span of his career. In light of this, Jeremy faced media criticism in 2015 for his refusal to belt "God Save the Queen" during a memorial event. Shortly following this, an older interview of his managed to resurface, and in it he stated that his quote, "preference to have the royal family completely dissolved."
Number 10, Prince Harry. Since stepping down from royal duties, Prince Harry has made his disdain for Charles pretty apparent, but he took his family beef to the next level when he criticized Charles's parenting on Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast. The 36-year-old claimed that his father handed down a cycle of genetic pain and suffering to him, which is why he and his wife Meghan Markle moved to Los Angeles. Harry says that they got out of the royal family to break the cycle. Quote, "He treated me the way he was treated. So how can I change that for my kids? We as parents should be doing the most we can do to try and say, you know what, that happened to me and I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen to you." Harry went on to describe his life as a royal as a mixture of The Truman Show and being in a zoo. In fact, Harry said that he had debated leaving the royal family since his early 20s because of what it did to his mom, which contradicts the narrative that Meghan was the one who wanted to leave. Number 9, Meghan Markle. During her explosive interview with Oprah Winfrey, the Duchess of Sussex claimed that someone in the family had expressed concern about the complexion of her child's skin. It was then that the allegations started to snowball, and Prince Harry told the Star that the incident happened right at the beginning of the pregnancy and left him a bit shocked. Meghan told Oprah, "In those months when I was pregnant, all around the same time, time, we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born. Then a royal book by Christopher Anderson revealed that a source close to the family claimed that it was Charles who made the comment during a conversation over breakfast with his wife Camilla on the day that Meghan and Harry's engagement was announced. He allegedly asked Camilla, "I wonder what the children will look like," and lowering his voice asking, "I mean, what do you suppose the children's complexion might be?" So it wasn't exactly subtle. Number 8. Trevor Noah. The Daily Show host made it clear that he is not a fan of the new king at all and decided to make fun of his pen complaints. The British monarch got the whole internet laughing with his bizarre behavior because it was all caught on camera. The first time he frantically urged staff to clear the extra pens from his desk while he signed his accession proclamation. The second time was when he got really mad over a leaky pen, saying, "I can't bear this bloody thing. What do they do every stinking time?" But Trevor Noah thought he was being ridiculous and said, "What the hell was that? Did you see that thing that he did? He's also the ruler of an animal kingdom." I love how Charles says the pens leak on him all the time. You're literally the king of England, dude. If you don't like the pens, get different pens. I'm not an expert in the monarchy, but I'm pretty sure the hierarchy doesn't go Prince William, King Charles, and then the guy who buys the pens. Number 7. Jesse Armstrong. The creator and writer of HBO's Succession decided to use his acceptance speech at this year's Emmys to take a dig at King Charles. Jesse Armstrong graced the stage twice, once to pick up an award for his writing on the show, and again with the entire cast and crew to receive the Outstanding Drama Series award. He said, "A big week for Successions. New king in the UK, this for us. Evidently a little more voting involved in our winning than Prince Charles." Even in a room full of Americans, the audience was very shocked at this risky joke, and gasps could be heard on live broadcast. When there was a bit of an uncomfortable silence, the show's lead actor Brian Cox told him, "Keep it royalist," but Jesse kept going and said, "I'm not saying we're more legitimate in our position than he is. We'll leave that to the other people." According to eyewitness accounts, there was very little laughter in the room and most people just felt plain awkward. Number 6. Tony Blair. The royals are expected to understand that party politics and individual politicians are totally off limit for public comment. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair was so furious about Prince Charles's behaviour during his time in Downing Street that he reportedly complained about him to Queen Elizabeth. He accused Charles of crossing the line and meddling in political matters by trying to influence government policy. The ex-Labour leader was said to have become exasperated by his interventions over agriculture, the armed forces, architecture and homeopathy, and even genetically modified foods. Then scandal erupted for both men in 2015 when they became embroiled in the scandal known as the Black Spider Memos, which was a collection of 27 letters that Charles sent from 2004 to 2005 lobbying the British PM for the policy changes that he hoped for. This was a pretty big controversy considering that members of the royal family are supposed to stay out of politics and remain neutral, especially the ones who were always destined to be king. Number 5. Princess Diana. When Prince Charles wed Diana in 1981 in front of a global television audience of more than 750 million people, the couple seemed to be perfect for each other. But behind the scenes, the marriage had extreme problems, and it became apparent that Charles was having an affair with Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall. A heartbroken Diana bravely decided to expose the affair in an infamous 1992 interview, saying, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." Subsequently, Charles publicly admitted to being unfaithful in his own interview, and the couple eventually divorced in 1996. With his admission of guilt, there was already public outrage growing against him, but it all came to a head when the princess was killed in a Paris car crash in 1997. From that point on, there were vitriolic outpourings in the press against both him and Camilla, and his popularity sank to an all-time low. So the British public, who is still very protective of Diana, still haven't been able to forgive Charles for how he treated her during their ill-fated marriage. Number 4. Richard Rogers. The award-winning British architect had made it known that when it comes to his career and livelihood, his biggest enemy is King Charles, who has used his power and influence on several occasions to step in at the last minute and object to Richard's designs. In one instance, Charles personally wrote a letter to his client, the Prime Minister of Qatar, another royal, to say that Richard's design was too modern to be built on a site that was so close to Christopher Wren's 17th century Chelsea hospital. So the architect was kicked off the job of, and the British architectural establishment was up in arms. Richard said, "I don't believe that the Prince of Wales understands architecture. He thinks it is fixed at one point in the past. He occupies a privileged position, and he should not use that to damage the livelihoods of the people that he disagrees with." While it's common knowledge that Charles has a huge disdain for modern architecture, which is probably classist in some way or another, it seems as though he is not above ruining someone's career over his taste in buildings. Number 3. Boris Johnson. The former Prime Minister and the new reigning monarch always had a rocky relationship, but they got into a major spat when Boris started pushing the controversial Rwanda asylum plan. The policy would have allowed the government to remove asylum seekers who crossed the channel to the UK and send them to Rwanda to claim asylum there instead. In short, Boris thought it was a great plan, and Charles said that the idea sounded appalling. The former British PM hit back at his comments, saying that most people could see that criminal gangs need to be stopped, and that it's the job of the government to stop people breaking the law. But their relationship really began to sour, and Charles eventually invited Boris to his estate for a meeting, which was a complete disaster from start to finish, as Boris reportedly didn't show him any respect, and there was clearly a lot of tension between them. Number 2. Nigel Farage. The broadcaster and former politician was quick to criticize King Charles's opinion on the controversial Rwanda policy. Farage took to Twitter and slammed his comments, writing, "Unless Prince Charles wants to destroy the monarchy, he had better shut up fast." Not only did he disagree with his point of view, but the fact that he expressed it at all, considering that yes, he is a royal and should not be making his political opinions public. But Farage really came under fire after posting a clip that seemed to mock Queen Elizabeth's death. He shared a 5-second clip to his TikTok account, which has now been viewed more than 6 million times, with the caption, "The Queen is dead, long live the King." In the video, Nigel looked and sounded incredibly sarcastic and said, "The Queen is dead, long live the King, sad day but we now have a king." He also shared the post on Twitter. No one was really sure what he meant by it, but a lot of people thought it was inappropriate considering how little emotion he showed while making the announcement. And coming in at number 1, Princess Catherine. The royals are known for their discretion and their decorum, so you might not know that the new King of England did not get along with his daughter-in-law at all. Although Kate and William have been an item for over a decade, Charles reportedly didn't embrace her when she was first introduced to the family and did not approve of their relationship. Part of the reason was because they were immensely popular, and Kate and William would send the media into a tailspin every time they left the palace. Their whirlwind romance began just a few years after Charles married Camilla, and unfortunately the older couple didn't seem too happy about sharing the spotlight with the younger couple. In 2011, the pair flew to Canada and LA on their first official trip as a royal couple. They reportedly hoped to impress King Charles, but all he seemed to care about was the fact that they posed in too many tasteless photos. So Kate's relationship with her father-in-law was rocky from the beginning.
At number 10, we have Princess Diana. Their marriage was one for the books. It was such a pivotal period in the history of the royal family that there's even a TV show about it. But don't take it as facts, remember folks, it's a dramatized TV show. But more on that later. Princess Diana was quite iconic in her progressive views and her non-traditional stance as a member of the crown. You either loved her or hated her, there was no in between. Her marriage with King Charles was never out of love, but out of pure duty. They both had their fair share of affairs to handle the physical aspect of a relationship that they couldn't find in each other. Princess Diana met an army officer, James Hewitt, and they were together for about 5 years. Many were convinced he was the actual biological father of Prince Harry due to their similar ginger hair. And then King Charles had his own thing with Camilla Parker Bowles, and they ended up marrying in 2005. So when their separation was announced in 1992, sure, the general public was shocked, but it only made sense. Divorce was not an option at the time until 1996. She was still granted rights and access to the Kensington Palace, as well as her title as the Princess of Wales, but was no longer considered Her Royal Highness. Next up on the list, we have Meghan Markle. As soon as her relationship with Prince Harry was announced, her life changed and we're not sure if it was for the better. Basically, people tend to compare her experience to Princess Diana, as both figures are very controversial in the eyes of England and the royal crown. There were many rumors of drama between Meghan and Queen Elizabeth or general tension with her in-laws. But unlike her late mother-in-laws, her marriage with Prince Harry was truly out of love, and their progression separate from from traditional royalties was what was best for them both. In April, she received a letter from King Charles that allegedly discussed the tension between her and Prince Harry and the royal family. After the couple's infamous Oprah interview in 2001, it was reported that King Charles himself was the only one to reach out to them. In her letter back to the king, she wrote that she hadn't meant to label them as having any racial prejudices, but she wanted to talk about the unconscious bias some of them may have. This was regarding the Oprah interview where she spoke about how there was discussion about her son Archie and his skin tone. At number 8, we have Queen Elizabeth. It was reported that at one point, the Queen was feeling frustrated with her son being inadequate to his royal duties. One said that she believed he would never live up to his sense of duties, and coming from your own mother must have hurt a lot. But is it a real parental relationship if your parents aren't disappointed in you? Some believed she favored Prince Andrew over Charles, causing a detrimental rift between brothers. It seems like the mother and son's distanced relationship had always been the norm. When he was first born, the Queen was insistent that he be born in her bedroom, as she favored familiarity over a hospital room. Initially, she made it her mission to being a present mother. She once said, "I am going to be the child's mother, not the nurse's." As a celebrity, figures are known to being an absent presence in their children's lives. But then this became untrue, as she was reported to leave town immediately to accompany her husband, King Philip, and disregarded her motherly duties. Apparently, she was gone so often she wasn't around for King Charles' first steps, and his first words were Nana. At number 7, we have Prince Harry. Prince Harry's relationship with his father is like any other, except not really, because they are literal royalty. In the documentary The Me You Don't See, produced by both him and Oprah, he shared the irritation he felt for his father. He claimed that King Charles made him suffer as a child, and they even tried to persuade him and Meghan from leaving and distancing themselves from traditional royal duties. As a kid, his father once told him, "Well, it was like that for me, so it's going to be like that for you," when it came to regarding the life as a royal member of the palace. This confused him as a child, and even today, as he rejects that type of cycle. He doesn't believe that children should suffer just because their parents did too. If anything, he's a firm believer that parents should do everything in their power to make it so whatever they suffered from, their children don't have to go through the same thing. He asked the rhetorical question, "Isn't this all about making sure history doesn't repeat itself?" He also said while growing up in the royal family, he always felt trapped, which makes so much sense. He was literally born into the spotlight and into a role that he had no say in. Unlike most children born into celebrity status, his birth meant he had a duty to fulfill whether he wanted to or not. He also admitted that even with their interview with Oprah, his family is still trying to control the narrative despite all the things they discussed. At number 6, we have Prince William. Hearing the drama between Princess Diana and King Charles from the news is probably one thing, but to be witnessing it in real time must have been a whole other traumatic experience, especially as one of their children. When Prince William was still a child and was mostly clueless of the harsh reality he was born into, he allegedly told his father that he hated him so much as he couldn't understand why he always made his mother cry. After the divorce, it was reported that his relationship with the king only worsened, as both he and his brother had favored their mother. One said that Diana had poisoned the boys' minds towards their father, but others think otherwise. The public found it easy to blame Diana, especially since she was already a topic of controversy wherever she went. While no one doubts the love he has for his sons, his duties as a royal member of the palace clearly came first. One claimed that oftentimes he would be so concentrated on work matters, he would sometimes overlook friends and loved ones beside him. At number 5, we have Camilla Parker Bowles. After being labeled as the king's mistress and hated among the general public when King Charles admitted to his affair with her, you'd think they got their somewhat of a fairy tale ending when they got married in 2005. One might have even thought that the queen, whose general impression of the late Princess Diana was tense at best, would have been ecstatic that it was over and King Charles could move on with someone more respectable for their family. But that was far from the case, because she disapproved of them for their adulterous beginning. And while she wasn't Princess Diana's biggest fan, cheating was against her morals. Her disapproval to Camilla was apparent no matter how hard she tried to get with her mother-in-law cause good side. One reported that the Queen said she could never forgive her for coming between King Charles and Princess Diana and letting them work things out. She also allegedly called her a wicked woman, which is probably the nicest thing she could have called her. Trust me, there are plenty of other more colorful words she could have used that would have done her anger more justice. It took years before there were newer claims that Camilla and the Queen finally got along. But knowing their family and their tendency to easily sweep things under the rug, I think that's unlikely. Next up on the list we have Prince Andrew. So remember when I said earlier that the Queen's favorite was Prince Andrew? King Charles might have just earned that title by proxy after it was revealed of his close connections to the infamous case regarding a famous American financier and his violation against multiple women, including minors. For this, his title and role as a higher up in the military was removed. He also can no longer be referred to as His Royal Highness. Yeah, it's insane how much titles and labels can hold so much power over someone. This punishment was greatly supported by his own mother, so say what you want about the Queen, but it's clear she doesn't hold much bias when it comes to her children and their wrongdoings. Aside from his royal family status, his other clubs and organizations have severed any affiliation with him, and that was the beginning of the end for Prince Andrew and his royal duties. Sure, Princess Diana and Meghan had conjured their own group of nonsensical haters, but in this case, the general consensus was that he got what he deserved. At number 3, we have Sarah Ferguson. She will not be attending the king's coronation ceremony because she wasn't invited. And no, she has no ill feelings towards King Charles, as she understands why her presence is unnecessary. She said that she wasn't invited because it's a state occasion, and being divorced, I don't think you can have it both ways. She was once married to the disgraced Prince Andrew, but was divorced after 10 years. Funnily enough, they divorced the same year King Charles' divorce with Princess Diana was finalized. They divorced for many reasons, but one of the main reasons was so she could work and earn money herself in a way she wanted. At first, she didn't want to divorce because she did love him. She was willing to work things out despite only seeing him 40 days in a span of a year during their first 5 years of marriage. Loneliness was a constant in their relationship, and there was no other way of changing that. But today, things seem okay between the two, as she still has only positive things to say about the royal family and specifies that she is divorced to and not from her ex-husband, whatever that means. They apparently still live together, which I'm not sure why. Are we forgetting his connections and participation in that lawsuit? At number 2, we have Russell Brand. The English actor probably isn't favored by the royal family, especially King Charles. In 2010, Russell shared the time he met the king, and it wasn't the greatest experience. He said, "When you meet someone whose name has got Prince at the start of their name, it's daunting." He claimed that someone literally pushed him into the line where everyone had a chance to meet and shake the king's hand. Suffice to say, he was not prepared in the slightest. He swore that the moment they made eye contact, it was as though the king recognized him for his work in the industry, and we all know it's not necessarily the greatest reputation. After the quick handshake, the king wanted to move on to the next person, but Russell refused to let go. Why? I have no idea. He said that this was his moment and he didn't want to let go just yet. He also admitted to shouting at Camilla and that being awkward as well. Finally, at number 1, we have Dominic West. Despite the show's success, the actor did not want to succeed the role as King Charles in the TV show The Crown. Now, it wasn't anything against the royal family or anything like that. He simply thought he wasn't fit for the role. After showrunner Peter Morgan offered him the part, at first he said no. He told him, "You've got the wrong guy, I look nothing like him." He was a fan of the show since it started and was intimidated by the original King Charles, Josh O'Connor, who won an Emmy for his portrayal. He ended up agreeing, mostly because Peter would not leave him alone until he accepted it, but a part of him also knew that this role was something he couldn't stop thinking about. It was a big role with big shoes to fill, but he also knew he would regret it if he didn't at least try.
Coming in at number 10 today, we have They Questioned the Color of Archie's Skin. While being pregnant is supposed to be a joyful experience, Meghan definitely had a rough time. When Prince Harry and Meghan sat down for an interview with Oprah, they would discuss what their life had looked like since they left the royal family and their royal duties behind. One of the biggest bombshells that they would drop was that some unnamed members of the royal family had made some direct racist comments
comments in their direction. In particular, a member of the royal family even asked what the skin tone of Meghan and Harry's future child might have. While the couple did refuse to name the royal family members that made the comments, it's been speculated that it was King Charles who raised the offensive questions. In the book Brothers and Wives: Inside the Private Lives of William, Kate, Harry, and Meghan, written by Christopher Anderson, it would expose that it was actually King Charles and Camilla who were discussing the couple when Charles reportedly asked, "I wonder what the children will look like," and Camilla, being somewhat taken back by the question, she would respond by saying, "Absolutely gorgeous, I'm certain." And then Charles would then lower his voice to clarify his question by saying, "I mean, what do you think the children's complexion might be?" While Charles has continued to deny that he made the comments, he would even have a spokesperson label the book as fiction, with Harry stating that the comment was not made by the Queen or Prince Philip. It only leaves a few other senior royals who could have actually made the comments. Number 9. Sold stories to the press. In Volume 2 of Harry and Meghan's Netflix docu-series, Harry didn't hold anything back when he dived deep into the challenges and complications that he and Meghan had to face while they were working as senior royals, with Harry claiming that the palace insiders were knowingly leaking stories about him and Meghan to the press. This is when Meghan and Harry would begin their plans on relocating outside of England. While the couple finally came to the decision to move to Canada, after visiting Vancouver for Christmas, after the palace okayed the move and Charles put it into writing, reports would then emerge that the couple had plans on moving to Canada, and just 5 days after that, Charles put it in writing, it was placed on the front page of a newspaper. It then became clear to Meghan and Harry at the moment that the institution was behind the leaks that they were moving back to Canada. It would also show that it was a key piece of the story that was made, highlighting the contents of the letter that was only between Harry and Charles. While both Harry and Meghan were both willing to give up their royal titles, they felt like their story and their life literally got swept away from underneath them. In episode 4, Harry and Meghan would also reveal that not only was the family leaking stories, but they were also planting stories. So if the media team wanted to remove a negative story about their principal, they would then trade something else in. Hey my little peaches, are you enjoying this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8. The miscarriage. In the 3 final episodes of Netflix series, Harry would say that William was the giant reason behind the negative stories appearing about the couple in the media, and he planted the stories that were playing across the headlines. Harry would then go on to say that he believes that the negative stories that the family planted on Meghan led to her miscarriage. Harry would then say it's a dirty game. There's leaking, but there's also planting of stories. So if the communications team wants to be able to remove a negative story about their principal, they will trade it and give you something about someone else's principal. While Meghan's mental health was deteriorating due to the stories would also have Meghan so stressed that she wasn't sleeping, so on the morning that she and Harry moved into their new home, she would find out that she miscarried her child. Harry would then add, "I believe my wife suffered a miscarriage because of what the Mail did," which referenced an article posted in 2019 that was leaked by the royal family. The Daily Mail would publish an article that leaked the contents of a letter that Meghan had sent her father. Harry would then say, "Now, do we absolutely know the miscarriage was caused by that? Of course we don't, but bearing in mind the stress that caused lack of sleep, the timing of her pregnancy, how many weeks she was in, I can say from what I saw that the miscarriage was created by what they were trying to do to her." Number 7. Racism. In the multi-part documentary, Meghan and Harry would address their experience dealing with race and racism within the royal family. Unlike the couple's Oprah interview, viewers were hoping for some more bombshell revelations. However, instead they got Harry and Meghan spending a lot of time trying to teach us about some history. In the second half of their series, they would kickstart the conversation about racism in the UK and how it contextualizes their experience as British royals, especially with the reaction of Meghan, who happens to be an American who identifies as biracial. With the couple discussing the tabloid headlines that were given to the press by the palace, they would claim that the headlines had racist tendencies, as they would describe Meghan as a gangster royalty or that she came from a crime-ridden neighborhood. Harry would also admit that he learned so much about how his family views issues with race and that there was a huge level of unconscious bias. But once it had been pointed out that the royal family still didn't care to protect Meghan, Meghan also felt like she had to wear a lot of white and beige just so she could blend in with the royal family, which only fueled the debates about whether the royal family is equipped to overseeing a rapidly diversifying Commonwealth. At number 6, we have the bullying allegations. Just 5 days before Harry and Meghan's interview with Oprah, the palace would claim that they were opening an investigation into bullying allegations against Meghan. In the couple's documentary, the executive director of Harry and Meghan's Archewell Foundation situation, gave insight into the series of events and claimed it was calculated to work against the couple. Speaking on the timing of the two occurrences, Harry would then add, "I can't think what my mom went through all those years ago by herself. To see the institution gaslighting what happens is extraordinary. And that's why everything that happened to us was always going to happen to us, because if you speak the truth to power, that's how they respond." Harry and Meghan only brought their truth forward because they wanted to fill in the blanks on what other people were filling in for them. The couple would then claim that they were never rude, nor would they ever bully anyone, especially since Harry had to witness his mom being bullied by the press and the family for years before her passing. While the move for the palace to say Meghan was a bully seemed pretty tactical, it's kinda hard to believe that the palace bullied them, as royal staff members would come out to explain their stories, and they ultimately decided to quit their roles at the palace so they wouldn't have to deal with Meghan and Harry again. And number 5, Kate made Meghan cry. With some claiming Meghan made Kate cry, others will claim that Kate made Meghan cry, with the alleged versions of the events still being in headlines after it was said that Meghan made Kate cry during a row over bridesmaid dresses. Meghan would later disagree and claim that it was actually the other way around. Meghan would say that Kate was upset about something, and she later owned up to it and apologized by sending flowers to her. While Meghan would go on to explain that it wasn't a confrontation, she would also say she didn't exactly think it was fair to Kate to get into the details, as Kate had already apologized to her by buying her flowers. Meghan would then also go on to say it's kind of hard being blamed for something she didn't do, and it was actually her that cried over the incident. While Meghan wouldn't state during the interview what the two had actually had an argument over, in the docuseries it would be revealed that the two actually fought over Charlotte's dress. Recently, with the rift being brought up again, Kate has been feeling sort of mortified, as she thought they worked things through, and now it's been circulating again, and she feels like she isn't in a position to respond, and Harry and Meghan know that, so their claims just seem so off-sided. And number 4, William screamed at Harry. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle piled fresh criticism on British royals in their episodes on the documentary. In the series, they would even go on to accuse Harry's older brother, Prince William, of screaming at him during a summit that was ordered for the royal family to attend so Harry could discuss his future with the royal family. In the final 3 episodes, Harry would bring to light that William had been the reason behind the large amount of negative stories that were appearing about the couple in the media. While Harry recounted the details of the crisis summit held at the estate 2 months before him and Meghan made the final decision to leave the family, he would attend the meeting alongside the Queen, Charles, and William. Harry would even go on to say that it was terrifying to have his brother scream at him and shout at him. Harry would also note that throughout the whole meeting, his father just sat there saying things that weren't true, and Queen Elizabeth just sat there quiet and let it all go down. While Harry didn't say exactly what was said, the fact that Queen Elizabeth just sat there quiet could mean that Harry overstepped his boundaries, and William and Charles were just putting him in his place to defend and support the Queen. So without knowing all the facts, it's really hard to say if William was really out of line here. And number 3, lies of protection. Shortly after Meghan and Harry decided to leave the royal family because of their relationship with William, a story would come out to say that part of the reason behind why Meghan and Harry were leaving the family is because William had bullied them out. While Harry admitted he was then made aware of the joint statement that had been issued by Kensington Palace with his and William's name on it, squashing and denying the report, Harry said no one had asked him for his permission to put the name on the statement and he couldn't believe it. After he had become aware of the statement, he said that he called Meghan to tell her what happened and all she could do was burst into tears. Harry would then go on to say within 4 hours, they were happy to lie to protect my brother, and yet for 3 years they were never willing to tell the truth to protect us. Meghan and Harry would then also claim that the royal family told the pair that if they helped them, they would make sure that Meghan would be safe from the negative headlines the press was releasing on her. However, that wouldn't be the case, and Meghan would point out that she noticed that her and Harry weren't just being thrown to the wolves, that they were actually being fed to them, as the royal family never actually wanted to protect them, and the couple, when they realized that, made the decision to leave the royal family for good. And number 2, refused to get Meghan help. During an interview with Oprah, Meghan would share that she joined the royal family and she started to have these pretty dark thoughts that made her think about taking her own life. In the heartbreaking scenes, Meghan would recall that this was the moment she realized she couldn't go on being a member of the royal family. Meghan would admit to Oprah that she was having thoughts, and she reached out to the senior royal staff for help, but she was denied any type of treatment. Meghan would then say, "It was all happening just because I was breathing. I was ashamed to admit it at the time and to admit it to Harry because of how much he lost he suffered, but I knew I didn't want to be here anymore. When it finally became a clear, constant thought, that's when Meghan admitted that she needed help. However, when she reached out for help, it would be stated that there was no help available for her. When she went to Human Resources, she said, "I need help. In my old job, there was a union that protected me. They said, my heart goes out to you, but you're not a paid employee of the institution." Meghan would then reveal that she was having these dark thoughts, and the only one who helped her was actually one of Princess Diana's friends. And at number 1 today, we have the palace took Meghan's passport and keys. When Meghan joined the royal family, she had to give up several personal items after marrying into the British royal family. When Meghan opened up about how she was feeling unsupported when she reached out to get help after she had struggles with her mental health, she then was feeling really ashamed to admit it, and she had a problem because it was scary to know that she was having these constant thoughts that were about her taking her own life. While the star said that she wanted to go somewhere, she was unable to do so. She couldn't just call an Uber to the palace, and when she joined the royal family, that would be the last time she saw her passport, driver's license, and keys, as she had to hand them over. Now, royal experts have shared why the palace may have done this. It's actually been proven that it's a pretty logical reason why it was most likely done. When Meghan had to hand over her driver's license, it would have been done under the security rules, as if she went out driving by herself, she wouldn't be protected. Her other documents would have been taken and kept in a safe to ensure that important documentation wouldn't be misplaced and that it would have been available if she needed it. So if she needed any of these items, all she had to do was ask for them and they would have given them to her. At number 10 today, we have silence by the royal family. In an interview with Oprah in 2021, Meghan would tell Oprah that she was silenced by the royal family. When Meghan started seeing Prince Harry and the world came to know about their relationship, Meghan was given wise advice to handle the gossip in the tabloid reports. The advice would be very clear and direct from the moment the world knew about Harry and Meghan and they were dating. She was always forced to tell the press that she had no comments to what was going on. Meghan couldn't even tell her friends or her parents. Meghan had to do everything the royal family told her to because it was put into a lens that if she did what they told her to do, they would protect her. However, Meghan would learn that after she finally married Harry, that everything would start to crumble as she would not be protected. However, she still continued to lie to protect the other members of the royal family. Even though they weren't willing to tell the truth to protect Meghan and Harry, now Meghan did not say who was lying or what the royal family was lying about, but she would state that the only thing she regretted was being silenced by the family, as she believed that they would protect her. She did what they said and she believed them when she shouldn't have. At number 9, Kate Middleton. Coming from different backgrounds, it pretty much came inedible that these two would not be long lost friends, with several reports initially stating that Meghan was the one who made Kate cry over a flower girl dress Meghan wanted Princess Charlotte to wear. Meghan would come out to say that it was actually the other way around. Meghan would note that it was a really hard week considering it was a wedding and Kate was really upset about something. However, Kate would then own up to her mistakes and she would bring Meghan flowers and a note to apologize. Now, Meghan didn't disclose many details about the rift with her sister-in-law. However, she did confirm that the disagreement was indeed about the flower girl dress. Meghan went on to note that the whole incident made her cry and that it really hurt her feelings, with many publications making Meghan look like the instigator of the altercation. Kate would be painted as a victim in the situation, and Meghan would then find the narrative actually quite shocking because that wouldn't be the story, and she described the situation as being the start of the rift between her and Kate. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And number 8, formality. In episode 2 in Meghan and Harry's new documentary, Meghan would recall her first time meeting Prince William and Kate, and with it she would reveal that the formality presented to the public by the royal family even carries on behind closed doors. With Meghan meeting Kate for the first time, when they came over for dinner, Meghan recalls how she wanted to feel comfortable, so she opted to wear casual clothes. She chose to wear ripped jeans and was barefoot. When she went to greet the royal couple, she went in for a hug and didn't realize how hugging was actually really jarring for a lot of Brits. This is when Meghan would understand that the formality on the outside even carried on through the inside. The royal family has this forward-facing way of being, and Meghan thought just when you could close the door and relax, she would find out that the formality still carries on over both sides, and it was really surprising to her. With Meghan wanting to do things her own way and break the formality, she found out it was really hard to connect with the family and fit in, and she found this formality to be actually just too tropical for her. And number 7, the thoughts of her unborn child. After it was revealed that certain unnamed members in the royal family actually expressed their concern over Meghan and Harry's unborn child Archie, a lot of people tried to pinpoint which members of the family actually have those thoughts. In the months months that Meghan was pregnant, she would be told that Archie would not be given security, a title, and that there was also conversations with some family members that they were concerned about how dark his skin might be when the child was born. Meghan would go on to say that majority of the concerns addressed to Harry were about what it would mean or look like if Archie was born with darker skin, as the royal family believed if a child was born with darker skin, it would be very damaging to their image. While Harry and Meghan did state that it wasn't the Queen or Prince Philip that were part of the conversation, it leaves you to think that the only people that were left to have this conversation were King Charles, Prince William, and their wives. No matter who started the conversations or the claims, it's pretty serious, and it's actually really concerning that the people who came into power and who will be entering into power very soon could actually have had such hurtful conversations about an unborn child. And number 6, had to quit. After months of speculation from royal watchers, Meghan and Harry would announce their plans to step back from the royal roles as senior royals. When the couple finally had enough of being scrutinized by the press and the royal family, they would finally say enough is enough, and they would enter into several weeks of negotiations for their exit as senior and working members of the royal family. However, the couple felt extremely trapped with being in the royal family. Harry would even go on to say, no matter who you are in the royal family, no matter what's going on in your personal life, no matter what's happened, if the bike rolls up and the car rolls out, you gotta get dressed, you gotta get in there, wipe the tears away, shake it off, and be on your A game. With racism being the largest reason to why the couple stepped down from their duties and left the UK, in their documentary the couple would state that there was a lot of misinformation about them and why they had to quit their royal obligations, and the biggest reason is because Meghan needed protection. And while the couple has gone on to say that the institution knows the full truth, the media knows the full truth, anybody in their situation would have done the same thing. And number 5, handing over passports. During an interview with CBS, Meghan would tell Oprah that she experienced a lot after marrying Harry, and it really made her mental health deteriorate. Throughout Meghan's and Harry's relationship, they were highly criticized by the British tabloids. Meghan would reveal that she was once approached by members of the royal family about getting Meghan help, but she felt like she couldn't do it within the castle walls. After marrying Harry, Meghan would have to hand over her keys, passport, and driver's license, as the palace attempted to make her trapped inside Kensington Palace and making it so she couldn't leave to get help on her own. When Oprah asked if she was considering checking herself into a mental facility, Meghan would explain no because she was asking the royal family if she could do it. Meghan would then say she just couldn't go by herself, as when she joined the family, she wouldn't see her passport, driver's license, and keys until her and Harry decided to leave. She was trapped in the palace and couldn't get the help she needed, and the palace staff denied her the help she needed. Meghan would even find herself reaching out to one of Princess Diana's best friends, as she felt like she was the only one who could understand her situation. And number 4, secret ceremony. Just 3 days before their official ceremony, Harry and Meghan would actually get married in secret. Just 3 days before their televised royal wedding in 2018, according to Meghan, they would secretly get married in their backyard because they both wanted to get back down to the basics and have a moment for just the two of them. Since their actual wedding day was to be televised, Meghan and Harry felt like their wedding wasn't actually for them and it was just for everyone else. So the couple decided to call the Archbishop and said, this spectacle is for the world, but we want our union between us. So the vows that we framed in our room are just the two of us in the backyard with the Archbishop of Canterbury. With the Archbishop claiming that the legal wedding was on Saturday, the couple just exchanged vows in the backyard, but it wasn't a legal wedding. Under English law, there needs to be at least 2 witnesses to take place in a registered venue for a marriage to be legit. So it's clear that the couple just wanted to do something for themselves before making this thing actually official, and it's actually a pretty sweet gesture if you think about it. And number 3, Harry's A-list. When Harry was one of the world's most eligible bachelors, he had a number of different girlfriends that never seemed to stick. In Meghan and Harry's new documentary, Harry would speak about the media scrutiny that brought intense pressure on his relationships, and he would compare it to things that he saw as a child with his mother, Princess Diana, after she divorced Prince Charles. Harry would say that she was one of the most powerful women in the world, but after the divorce, she was completely exposed. Harry would then explain that he has seen things, learned things about how women marrying into the institution will have to understand it comes with pain and suffering. So Harry said he didn't think he would ever meet someone who was willing and capable to withstand all the baggage that came with him. With his relationships only lasting a matter of weeks or months before it was splattered all over the tabloids, when he met Meghan, he was terrified that she would be driven away by the media. Meghan would then later reveal that Harry actually has an A-list of potential qualities he would want and need in a future partner. With Harry refusing to reveal any of his list, he would go on to say that Meghan was the list, as she was a needle in a haystack. She was someone who not only shared his values of service, but she also had experience with being in the public eye. And number 2, secret stay at the palace. When Meghan and Harry first started seeing each other, they wanted to keep their relationship a secret for as long as possible so they could get to know each other without the media intruding. With Meghan describing their long distance relationship as exciting, relaxed, and easy, she knew that if she wanted this to last, she would have to do something. So she decided to implement this 2-week rule, which pretty much meant that they both had to see each other in person every 2 weeks. Now, to fly under the radar, it was somehow much easier for Meghan, who was living in Canada at the time, to fly to London to visit Harry in secret. So every 2 weeks, if both couples could manage, they would visit, and Meghan would fly to London to stay with Harry at Kensington Palace, so they could get to know each other without anyone taking photographs and it becoming news. However, it was a risk to get Meghan into the palace, as getting her through the police barrier into Kensington Palace is a risk itself because you never know who you could trust. So Meghan and Harry had to become really sneaky just to get her into the castle walls. The pair would also do this for 4 months before their news of being together officially broke in November of 2016. And at number 1 today, we have Meghan's career. When news first broke that the Suits actor Meghan Markle was dating Britain's most eligible royal, the headlines would respond with racism, with headlines joking about Meghan being straight out of Compton or that her mother lived in the slums. It became a huge factor to why Meghan and Harry wanted to leave the royal family. With the royal family believing that Meghan's career being a sticking point in the beginning, they were incredibly impressed that Harry could land such a beautiful woman. The fact that he was dating an American actress, on the other hand, definitely clouded their judgment more than anything else. And in the beginning, as the family would say, oh, she's an American actress, this won't last, with Meghan adding that her being an actress was the biggest problem. She would say that there is an idea in the UK that causes them to typecast anyone from Hollywood. Although we all know that race would become the bigger issue on why they chose to opt out of the royal family, it's clear that the royal family definitely didn't trust Meghan because of her career and where she was from.